Hi, welcome to the second episode of Astrology, the Sabian Smoosh, where we continue our journey one decan at a time through the gates of Aquarius. Well, we've already talked about coming into the Aquarius season solidly in the middle of winter with the Five of Swords defeatist attitude and ideas on how to overcome them. Aquarius decan 2 is the midpoint of the sign, neither coming nor going, fixed in the center of the sign where all the focused action takes place. But before we restart our journey, let's take a closer look at the anatomy of the wheel. Israel Regardie's book, The Golden Dawn, maps the layout of the wheel, the uppermost being the dominion of the knaves, which are the pages and the princesses, like a cross within a circle. The second belt, under the dominion of the other court cards, represents a belt of influences descending vertically. In my mind, this belt can get confusing because there are two elemental attributes on each court card. And the secondary element of the card, in my mind, plays more of a role than the royalty on the card. And some of these dual elements correspond to fit the placement on the wheel, but some don't. So that kind of messes with me a little bit. But a special note, the Knight of Swords, who we're working with in this group, is the only card to firmly sit both in its element and its elemental influence. Interesting, huh? Okay, onward. The third belt, under the dominion of the 12 keys related to the signs of the zodiac, represent a belt of influence acting horizontally. This zone, in unison with the second belt, will therefore yield a great zone of 12 crosses. What we have is a major chord crossing a court card. That's something to look at a little bit later, maybe astrology, the bureaucracy, where, what we're looking at at that point would be the politics of tarot. The fourth belt consists of the 36 decans under the dominion of the 36 small cards of the four suits in number 2 to 12. 10, 2 to 10, excuse me. And in each set, there's 3 pairs of the sign. The central one will be more pronounced in effect than the lateral parts. That's all they have to say. Now, this is Book T. Book T does not specifically mention a fifth belt for the planets. So I think that's later on in the book. We're obviously working in the realm of the fourth belt, where the decans live. The question I have here is, what did the Golden Dawn mean by the central one will be more pronounced than the lateral part? Now, most likely this is an adaptation from the cardinal, fixed, and mutable signs of the planets. So when we look at this, one of the things you have to wonder is, what does cardinal, fixed, and mutable mean? Well, essentially, a sign can be herald the start of a season and be solidly in the middle of season, or it can be at the end of the season. Cardinal signs start seasons. We enter into the seasons with Aries for spring, Cancer for summer, Libra for fall, and Capricorn for winter. All of these signs are somewhat affected by the previous sign. Now, fixed signs are solidly in the middle of the season. I mean, there's no way we've got winter and Aquarius in winter, Taurus directly in the middle of spring, Leo is definitely midsummer, Scorpio is, stuck in the middle of the fall season. And then the mutable signs end the season. They're changeable and take the best and worst qualities of this current season into the next sign. Gemini, Virgo, Sagittarius, and Pisces all end the season, and then the next one starts. This threefold cycle corresponds to the decans as well. Decan 1 is cardinal or entering, Decan 2 is fixed, and Decan 3 is outgoing or mutable. Additionally, the Golden Dawn taught that the numbers 2, 3, and 4 are cardinal numbers, 5, 6, and 7 are fixed, and 8, 9, and 10 are mutable. Now, the word cardinal throws me off here because the card catalog of my mind says we are taught that they're all cardinal numbers. So we're looking at context as far as the Golden Dawn version over custom. When we place numbers into the chart, the cycling of the card suits in the wheel start to make sense. Now, let's take a look at what Agrippa had to say about the decans. Chapter 37 in the second book of Occult Philosophy states, of the images of the faces and of those images which are without zodiac. There are besides in the zodiac 36 images, of which Tusser the Babylonian long since wrote. In this chapter, Agrippa attributes images to what are now known as decans, and goes on to give pictorial descriptions of each decan. And since we've already talked about the Decan 1 of Aquarius, this is what he had to say about that. In the first phase of Aquarius ascends the form of a prudent man and a woman spinning. I'm assuming a spinning wheel. And the signification of this is the thought and labor for gain and baseness. Well, this describes someone who pursues personal gain through any means, no matter how corrupt or immoral. This narcissistic trait fits in with the Five of Swords landscapes we talked about in the last episode. The mask of the narcissist or bully covers his fear of defeat caused by a feeling of inadequacy. The bully is stuck in a mind loop, unable to make meaningful change out of fear of being unmasked. So then what does he have to do? So then what does Agrippa have to say about Aquarius Decan 2? In the second phase of Aquarius ascends the form of a man with a long beard, and the signification of this belongs to the understanding, meekness, modesty, liberty, and good manners. Now, does this mean that Aquarius is meek or understanding? These traits are there, but may be hidden by the mask required in the process of achieving true liberty. But good manners aren't always a given once the mask is taken off. Towards the end of the chapter, Agrippa also mentions 360 images for the degrees, but due to the length of the list, he doesn't go into detail about what the pictures are. Wouldn't it be fun to find out what those images are and compare them to the Sabian symbols? And on that note, let's look at the Sabian symbols for the next decan. Degree 10 to degree 11, we have Aquarius in the 11th degree, a man tete-a-tete with his inspiration. Whatever concerns you and what really matters is the satisfaction and realization that occurs whenever you are aligned with and working towards something of true significance for primarily yourself. Only in this way will be revealed true capabilities, and from them something that appeals to and benefits others as well. The importance of having a dream for yourself and following it and being true to it. Interesting. Be true to your dreams. Aquarius from 11 to 12 was the Aquarius in the 12th degree. People on stairs graduated upwards. We want you to bear in mind now, with respect to whatever it is that's concerning you, you are involved in a process of development with and or against other people. And so there are those who are at the forefront, those who are lagging behind, and the vast majority somewhere in between. But whatever their position, they are all still an integral part of the same process of evolution, moving progressively onwards. So you can't move forward and expect everybody to be moving at the same pace as you are. And some of them will need more help. Some of them don't need any help at all. Some of them are faster, but they all play a part in helping you get to where you want to go. Now, from 12th to 13th degree, we have Aquarius in the 13th degree, a barometer. Now, barometer measures air pressures. So you are instinctively getting the measure or indication of something in the air. The intuition, just as a barometer does this for atmospheric pressure and what it predicts weather-wise, it can be seen here that you are doing the same thing with regards to your current issues, changes, or prospects. The oracle itself could be regarded as this kind of symbolic barometer, with the Sabian symbols being the readings on the dial. Now, from 13 to 14, we have Aquarius in the 14th degree, a train entering a tunnel. Here is the beginning or prospect of having to make it through some sort of dark or difficult passage, which implies the need for the faith that there is light at the end of the tunnel, which, of course, always is, unless it's blocked by lack of faith in this case. The train in this symbol implies that it's not just you who, as an individual on the threshold of this journey that through an obstacle, but as a group or whole that you are part of. Moving forward with Aquarius of the 15th degree, from degrees 14 to 15, we see two lovebirds sitting on a fence. Now, my Saturn lives here. I'm not sure what that means, but that's where my Saturn lives. Now, the card goes on to say, you are being shown that in order to get the best out of your situation or resolve any difficulties, you have to initiate a definite change in the way you are going about things. Only then will there come a magic created through a tender sharing, a shift in perspective, or anything that'll put a different complexion on what concerns you. Alternatively, two or more people who constantly fluctuate and cannot come down on one side or the other. Now, from degree 15 to 16, the Aquarius 16th degree finds a big businessman at his desk. Now personal stability and success are or can be gained and maintained through organizational powers. Boy, do I lack that. Or looked at from the other side, the object of your concern may be quite hard to attain or absolutely out of your reach or league. You should know which. But if it's the latter, then it would be only because you assumed that it was the latter. Okay, so what do we look at? The latter being out of my reach, so everything is within my reach. Okay, now here is where my sun lives in Aquarius, the 17th degree. Funny coincidence. My tarot birth number is 17. I'm the star. 17 is the star. This is my sun sign. Interesting. 17th degree is a watchdog standing guard. It's from 16 to 17. Occasioned or called for is the basic protection and maintenance that is unfortunately still necessary in a state where life and property, quality, and individuality are not always respected. But be aware of being plain paranoid. As we move from the 17th degree of Aquarius into the 18th degree, we have a man unmasked. This degree seems to correspond to the masquerade of the Five of Swords. Something or someone will be revealing the truth, possibly about a man or perhaps the male side of a woman. In turn, this could imply the experiencing of what false or true masculinity is, perhaps an outing. But in more general terms, which is what we're going to be doing, this symbol represents being stripped of the social mask that one wears so that the real person behind it may be seen or felt. And now we'll travel from the 18th to the 19th degree of Aquarius, which is a forest fire quenched. An emergency has been or will soon be successfully dealt with. A disaster will be overcome. Also, this is the relief and sense of victory that follows such occasions. Or something consuming or taking over something or someone else. And the question of what this leaves behind, because there's always left behind after fire. Satisfying hunger and its consequences. The charred everything. So this symbol probably talks about getting rid of that which does not serve, that very overused phase, and keeping that which works for you. And that stimulates the new growth. And now we're finally down to Aquarius, the 20th degree, which is represented by a white dove who acts as a message bearer. Rest assured is the answer to your inquiry. Peace comes and a safe haven is near at hand. This is the end to the disaster. This is redemption. This symbol guarantees that the sheer beauty and integrity of life and its forces will eventually bring into manifestation what is longed for in the pure and faithful heart, be it the resolution of a personal difficulty or world peace. Like appreciating the oracle itself, such messages are like sonar showing something on the screen. You cannot physically see it, but you trust the technology and know it to be there. The themes I find for this group of Sabian symbols are maintenance of the vision, the power of the group, unmasking the truth, and transitioning into authenticity. Now, the assigned card for this decan is the Six of Swords, which traditionally depicts a journey across the water to a quieter shore. That safe haven mentioned in the 20th degree of Aquarius. Now, why is that? Well, Attila's Six of Swords is called route or route, with the meaning soon you'll be embarking on a journey where you'll have much fun. And then he pairs it with other cards, of course, that talk about the caveats of that fun, whether it's going to be great fun or poor fun. The Golden Dawn called this card earned success, success after anxiety and trouble. That trouble is obviously the Five of Swords. Selfishness, beauty, and conceit, but sometimes modesty. Well, that corresponds with the old man in Agrippa modesty. They're in the domain of patience, labor. It is the Tipperith of vow, labor, work, and journey by water. FYI, the Hebrew letter vow translates to water. But Waite distilled this into a ferryman carrying passengers in his punt, which is a boat, to the further shore. The course is smooth, and seeing that the freight is light, it may be noted that the work is not beyond his strength. His divinatory meanings: journey by water, route, way, envoy, commissionary, expedient, and reversed its declaration, confession, publicity. One account says it's a proposal of love. Okay, so we keep going here. Crowley renamed the card science because in his mind it represented science at its fullest. The six linked it to the beauty and balance of Tipperith, and the swords corresponded to intellect. And supporting this is the placement of Mercury in Aquarius, which also also emphasizes intelligence as well as humanity. The card symbolizes a challenging but ideal balance of mental and moral attributes that ideally reflects the scientific methods. So we see a story here about journeying, earning your way, and a hard-won success in the Kabbalistic world of water. The swords in the boat aren't just weapons. They're the mental burdens because, air, thoughts, things, and the watchdog defenses being carried during the transformation. The journey to the far shore now is the process of realizing you can leave the fear of not being enough behind. So, what other cards do we see here? As I said earlier, the Knight of Swords is deeply entrenched in this midwinter sign. He is the driving force for forward movement. The outer influences come from the Star, the World, and the Fool, the same as in the Five of Swords. Now, all four are in agreement with finding adventure and moving forward with the journey. But now, the loving and nurturing energy of Venus, the Empress, gives way to the planet Mercury and the Magician, who is sometimes called the Alchemist. How does this information fit into the four pillars of Aquarius Decan 1 we started last time? Well, searching. The Knight of Swords becomes a human barometer. Searching is not a frantic hunt. It's now a reading of the air to find where inspiration joins the imagination to begin the transition for the light. Creation. This decan joins structural evolution and organizational power. The businessman at his desk and the people on the stairs come together to build a whole new way of being by renovating the entire system needed to move the community or group through the dark tunnel towards a higher state of existence. The destruction caused by removing the mask to stand in the light, to destroy the fear of not being enough. The destruction of the social mask ends the masquerade we discussed in Decan 1. The process is an end to the belief that guarding the true self is the only path to acceptance. This creates a forest fire of the ego and feels like a disaster. But actually, it's the only way to stop the wild growth of the seeds of defeat. Redemption is the peace found once the journey across the water is complete. It's the realization that the Lovebirds have finally stopped wavering on the fence because of a shared perspective. Important. Everybody needs a shared perspective to feel comfortable. It is the safe haven at the end of the Six of Swords sword ride, where intuition finally lands on solid ground. Now here's the smoosh for Aquarius Decan 2 and the Six of Swords. In the Six of Swords, we see a silent journey toward a distant shore, a transition from the choppy waters of the Five of Swords to the unknown shores of the Seven. In the second decan, the bearded man, prudent man of Agrippa, evolves into the visionary at his desk, who then evolves into the big businessman. This is someone who has moved beyond the defeat of the Five of Swords to focus on his own inspiration. The journey through the dark tunnel of these degrees is the ultimate Six of Swords experience because That's the Six of Swords has faith that the light at the end of the tunnel is going to be there, regardless of the narrowness of the passage or the weight of the group they're bringing with them. This is where a passive sense of social shifts help in organizing life and bring stability to thought. Real freedom comes from the unmasking. And this is important, it comes from the unmasking. While the Aquarius 1 was about hiding the struggle behind the mask, Decan 2 is about throwing the mask away. The truth, once revealed, may spark a forest fire of sudden realizations that need to be, which are only quenched finally by a wave of enlightenment, which shifts the distrust of the watchdog to the peace of the white dove. Enlightenment is what brings in, you realize you had to do all of those you had to have put out all of those fires in order to learn and grow from them. As we leave the second decan of Aquarius, the lesson is one of mental transition. The Six of Swords reminds us we're moving away from the corrupted gain of the spinning wheel and towards the liberty and understanding of the wise bearded man. Your task this week is to look at the barometer of your own life. What's the air telling you? If you're currently in a dark tunnel, have that faith in the wisdom of the soul. The unmasking you fear is actually your greatest moment of redemption. When the mask falls, the fire is quenched and the white dove is finally free to land safely. Thank you for joining me at Astrology. Until next time, keep your eyes on the far shore where peace and belonging await.